All right. Well, guys, welcome to Your Next Level Now with Bob Donnell. I have a guest today that has become a very dear friend over the last 8 months or so, and I think what you're going to find in our conversation is going to find the ability to relate is so very important, but also the ability to relate and be present to a conversation. And this lady has impressed me over and over again about how well she does that and how she's constantly looking to improve. As a matter of fact, we were just talking off camera that, the idea of when I offered this, she said yes because she would typically say no, but she said yes because she knew that she wanted to do this and she wanted to get the experience and the practice. And this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to get to know Christy Jones. Christy, hi there.
Hi, Bob.
You know, we met what, seven months ago, maybe 6 months
I
ago.
think
I don't know,
so.
something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I just remember really loving your smile and the person that you are. Uh, when you're inquisitive, you have a lot of questions, you have a lot of ideas going on, and you've got a lot of things going on in your life, and yet at the same time you seem to make time for those things that are really important to you becoming an even better version of yourself. Why do
Hmm.
you do that?
Wow. I love your questions, Bob. And that's you when you ask questions, you really make me think.
Hmm.
And first of all, I just want to say thank you for this time with you and getting to just learn from you. I've learned so much from you in this amount of time being part of Next Level of Association.
Thank you.
And so I think for me, there's just such an like that. There's just these opportunities show up. And I don't think that things show up by accident. And so when something catches my interest and it's like, oh, that like it's almost like I feel it, like that feels like something that could be useful.
Hmm.
And so I do a lot by how something feels. And I
Hmm.
don't know if that makes any sense,
Yeah,
but it
absolutely.
will, so if something really resonates with me, then I want to incorporate that and make time for it.
Hmm.
Um, and I love learning and growing. Probably maybe a little bit too much. I might be a little addicted to learning.
Oh, that's funny. I think there's a lot of people like that for sure. But Christy, you have a lot going on in your life,
Mhm,
and you're busy. And
mhm,
one of the things I love is that busy people tend to get more done.
mhm.
Busy people don't make excuses. Busy people get things done. You're doing a really cool project in where you're going into schools and
Mhm.
helping the students do what?
So what I get to do, and it's shifted in this time. So before this time when we're more virtual, or we are virtual, I was in the classrooms teaching students how to love eating vegetables, reading food labels, mindfulness exercises so they can start listening to their
Mm,
wisdom inside, learning how to be present.
yeah.
And in this time, it's really shifted that I'm now working more with teachers and with parents and providing resources for the teachers to feel present. I mean, right now, self-care is so important and ways to be able to manage stress and to learn how to be present.
Mm,
And so I'm mostly working with teachers so that they can feel a difference in their body. I teach a lot of mindfulness movements so that we can literally feel our body relax and feel lighter. And so if I can teach it to the teachers, and if I can teach that to the parents, then they have tools to teach their children or their students.
mm.
And so in
Let's
all the,
let's talk about that for a second because
yes.
I think I love what you're talking about, and I love the fact that you mentioned the word tools.
Mm-hmm,
I think a lot of people would do a lot more in life if they had the tools.
mm-hmm.
And so, but here's one of the thoughts. There's a lot of people that say, if I had the tools to do this, I'd be better at it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference in the person that says, I just don't have the tools, and the person who says, I want to learn the tools. How do you relate to someone and teach them tools when maybe they're not even aware that they don't have them, or B, they're aware that they don't have them, but they don't want to have to go through all the work to learn a tool? How do you relate and teach them?
Hmm. Well, I try to make things really easy and fun. And a lot of times there's not a choice. So if somebody's coming to me privately, they don't have a choice. We're going to get up and move,
Yeah.
and they're going to get an opportunity to feel a difference in their body. And
Mm.
so I almost always, when I have a chance, start with movement, because when you move your body, you will feel a difference and it will change your emotional state.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that's not an option.
I love it.
So when I'm doing trainings, same thing. Okay, let's get up and move. And when we can move our body and people start feeling a difference in their body, they start being more receptive.
Yeah, and I've seen you do this exercise on your Facebook lives with that expanding ball. Yeah. And you know, when I first saw you hold it up, I'm like, what is this? And then I saw you explain it, and then I saw you talk about that and what that represents.
Okay. Yeah. So this is, I think it's called, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's called, I believe, a Hoberman sphere. Have
We're
you
gonna
heard of that
call it
before?
that. That's it. No, we're just
Right.
gonna
Right.
call it that.
Right. And so it's, I saw it first at a museum in Los Angeles. I can't remember if it's the Science Museum. They had a big one that went across the ceiling. And so when I started working in schools, I saw a video of a woman that was teaching children to breathing exercises with breathing in
Mhm.
and breathing out. And I loved it.
Yeah.
So I went on Amazon and I bought that ball probably about 12 years ago.
But see, here's the cool thing about that, Christy, is that you saw something, you liked it, and you took action. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Paul Hoffman and I were talking today about how many people, you know, they've got a great idea, but they never take action. They don't execute on it.
Right.
So let's stop right there, because I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that they can do, but they don't take the action on it. What made you go out and spend money on something that you thought it was a cool thing? Why?
When you ask me these questions, it makes me think about my behavior.
Good, good.
I mean, what I want to say is because I liked it. And so I wanted it.
But what's the real truth?
But what's the real truth? I mean, this was something to be able to introduce a tool to children
Hmm.
to help them. How do you teach a child to want to breathe, right? To be mindful and to bring them into the present moment.
Hmm.
Right? This just seemed like, and I was learning about mindfulness 12 years ago. Mindfulness was a whole new concept to myself. So I was learning and looking for resources, and this caught my attention.
Hmm.
Right?
Why is it so important for people to, one, have movement? I love that. And
Mm-hmm.
then two, to have this mindfulness. Why is that so important? And then the breathing. Those three things right there. I mean, that's kind of like a trifecta of
Mm-hmm.
really getting somebody to that next level. And you teach that. So why those three things? And two, how do you teach those to be so effective?
Yeah. So let me make sure I have these straight. So the breathing, the movement, and what was the third one?
Well, you said it. Shoot.
Breathing,
Breathing, movement, and
movement.
being present.
Oh, and being present,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So one is that our breath is our access to the present moment.
Our breath is our access to the present moment. Ooh, I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So to help ourselves, so our being present to me means that our mind and our body are in the same location.
Mm.
Right?
Boy, I think that's a rarity in today's place.
Right? Like you can see, like, I teach 9-year-olds mindfulness, right? And so I'll say, what's mindfulness? And they'll say, I think it, or they're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, it means being in the present moment. What's being in the present moment? They're like, I think it's now. I'm like, okay, so it's now. So how do you know you're in it? And they'll say, and so I'll say, have you ever been like in the classroom? Now it's on Zoom and your teacher is talking and your body is there, but where's your mind?
Yeah.
They're like, it's not there.
Yeah.
Like, well, where is it? right? So as humans, we go to the past and we go to the future. And so I realized when I started working with kids, how do I help them understand this is that their body and their mind need to be in the same location.
I can't even imagine teaching a 9-year-old that when I see so many adults not be able to do that.
And
So how do they move from the point of awareness, like you're telling this is something that's necessary, this is what you want to be aware of, to actually taking that first? What's the first step to helping them do that?
right is we put one hand on our heart, one hand on our abdomen, because we have our brain in our head. We actually have learned that our heart is a brain. We have neurons around our heart and we have neurons in our gut. So we have a gut brain. So when we put our hand and abdomen, we are connecting our three brains. You are helping to bring, wherever you put your hands, you are now connecting your mind and your body. And so by putting your hands here and focusing on your breath, you're now, and that's their job, put your hands here, focus on your breath. They can watch the ball, right? So that they're engaged, but they're here connecting with their body. And then once we'll take 5 breaths together, then I'll ask, what do you feel inside? What is your body telling you? Oh, I feel calm. I feel relaxed, right? So it's helping them start being able to be aware of their body, right? And to bring themselves into that present moment where they're connecting their mind and their body.
I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you're working with school teachers in teaching this, because I think they're going to be with them on a daily basis, right? And you're going to be there for a period of time and then
Yes.
move on. So I love the fact that you're incorporating that. You know, I'm a big one on training leaders so that leaders can lead, and I think that's really healthy. I think one of the other things that I'm hearing from you is not only how it's important or why it's important, but what we can do to facilitate people being present, to facilitate people being mindful, to facilitate people being able to breathe. You know, I mean, we both know that if I start walking at a fast pace and you're walking with me, you'll walk at a faster pace. So somebody's setting the tone, somebody's setting the pace. If I slow down, the person will probably slow down. So how do you teach that? Matching and mirroring, if you want to talk about, you know, matching and mirroring, how do you teach that so that people get it, that they can set their own pace, they can set their own tone?
Yeah. And especially when we're talking about educators, you know, they have so much, they're amazing. One, I just think we really need to acknowledge our educators and what they always do, and their flexibility and their adjustments in this time as well. And it's really people seeing that something's possible for them. So like with the teacher realizing, oh my gosh, when I pause and I breathe, I feel relaxed, right? When I do, you know, a little movement exercise, I feel energized again. I feel more focused. So them realizing they feel a difference in their body, experiencing it first for themselves. And then how do you think your students would feel if you started your day with this? And so realizing that they can put a little brain break in, a little breathing, a little mindfulness movement in for their own self-care, and it feels good. So here's the thing, when things feel good, we're going to do what feels good, right? And then they realize it benefits them. I'm like, really, I care about you. I want you to do this for you. The plus is that the kids are going to benefit.
Right.
But if they start their day and they realize their energy goes across the screen or in the classroom, the energy they're in is going to set the tone for the whole class. So realizing that them starting their day, and then administrators realizing that if they start their staff meeting, right? So it's literally getting this idea and being, okay, we can just incorporate this. It doesn't take a lot of time. Oh, it feels good. Right? But they've got to experience. So in the trainings, that's why I get people moving so they feel a difference in their body. And then I can talk about what would it be like to start your class like that? What would it be like to start your meeting? So it just starts incorporating into the culture, but it's so simple. It doesn't take a lot of time and people are more focused. They're going to get more done in that time.
So you bring up a good point. We do things when it feels good. So we know this feels good. So why do we not do it more often?
Hmm. I think, it's, I think time gets in the way, or limiting beliefs that we have. So often I think we're in such a rush, we don't realize that if we pause and do some of these mindfulness awareness exercises, that we're actually going to get more done. But it's realizing it's got to occur to somebody that it's possible. And I think sometimes it doesn't, it's not in the awareness, or it doesn't seem possible. And it's going to be whatever's going through, that person's, internal engineering in their brain. So our brain gets in the way of a lot of things. I would think you might agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'd say it's this.
I agree. I 100% concur.
Yeah.
So give us an example of somebody that you've worked with that has really taken it to heart and applied it and got some really great results.
There's a teacher that I worked with last year, and she came to me for her own health, that special needs teacher, that our special needs teachers have a lot on their plate. And so, we got to work together personally. She met me through a training at a school district, and she took on everything and incorporated into her classroom. So she started with the mindfulness exercises every single day. And she's a middle school teacher. Some of these things that I do are a little weird, right? And some kids are like, what are you doing? Right? Regardless of whether the kids wanted to do it or not, she just started her day. And she incorporated the mindset tools and the mindfulness tools into her classroom with these kids. And one of the things she told me is, I did not focus anymore on academics. I actually put more time for these brain breaks, and all my kids improved. Isn't that powerful? And not only that they would say, I think I need to breathe. Right. I think I need to tap. I do a lot of tapping. I think I need to tap. So they would come to her and tell her what they needed, because it became a tool in their toolbox, if we go back to that analogy.
Yeah. So you're changing the world.
As are you.
But look, you're changing the world with some different modalities that people have not even thought about. You're changing the world in the sense that you're educating educators who are going to go out and teach way more than you could teach, because they've got X amount of people in their class every day. And the fact that they're going to have them captive for every day for a period of time, at least, the implementation and the ability to have that impact is going to be even far greater than you and I could on a 1-day event or a 3-day event or even a week-long event. They're going to have a full year or 9 months with those kids. Yeah. You're changing the world, and I want to, one, commend you, but two, I also want to ask you why. Why did this become important to you, and when was that?
Wow, this question could probably make me cry. When I really think about it, and I'll try and say this without crying, but I might. I'm not promising not to.
Yeah, we're all good. Big boys cry.
Yeah. This is a deep one, Bob. When I was 7, my sister passed away. Okay. And it was my school principal was the one that told me that she passed away, and was there for our family. And when my mom went through a really hard time, he was the one that got her involved in school and had her start working in the library. We were new to the community. We didn't know people. And we were the family that's baby died, stay away from that woman because her baby just died. And he became our adopted grandfather.
Wow.
And when I started doing these trainings, I really started thinking about why is it so important to me? I was a kid that needed someone to look out for me. He saved our family. And I think that this goes back to why schools are so important and having people that care about these kids and these families. And that's what's there.
That's a powerful, powerful story.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you and honor you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you've done the work to know why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And for them to know, for these educators to know, they make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
They might not always feel like it, especially right now, but you never know the impact you're going to make in somebody's life.
Mm.
And that's what I acknowledge the work that you do as well, Bob. You know, when I met you, I researched you. Then I went on and, you know, saw your TED Talk about asking questions and building deeper connections. And your message spoke to me at such a profound level. It actually really reminded me a lot of what I've been working on creating myself. And that's why I wanted to be part of your community.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for those words. I appreciate that. And I received them. Thank you. You know, as we wrap up this time, I really want to give you an opportunity to tell people, how do they get in touch with you? What's a first step? You know, maybe there's one thing, maybe it's a handout, maybe it's a website, maybe what's the first step that they can do to start learning more about you and what you're doing?
Well, first step is if they wanted to go to my website, you know, then they can learn a little bit more about me. And I have a workbook that they can download on building a healthy mind and a healthy body. And my website is pretty easy. It's christyjones.com. So Christy, CHRISTY, and Jones, JONES.com.
Perfect.
And that would be an easy step.
Awesome. So what would you recommend them to do first if they're wanting to get going in a different direction? Because you've laid out some good ideas and some plans for them.
Mm-hmm.
What's something you want them to do first? Go to the website or make a decision, or what is it that you want them to do first?
I mean, honestly, if somebody really wanted, my first action is I'd rather somebody call me versus going to my website. Okay. And let's have a conversation. I love talking to people and finding out what they're looking for.
Awesome. So how would they get in touch with you on a phone?
Okay. Can I just give you my phone number?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay. So my phone number is 626-825-5029.
Perfect. Let's say it again, just in case.
626-825-5029.
Awesome. Awesome.
And that being that, I think a conversation is always a great place to start.
Agree. Well, Christy, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the work you're doing and how you're going to impact people's lives going forward, and all the work you've done up to this point. You know, you mentioned 12 years ago you started being more mindful and all this other. But the bottom line is, it took an action, it took a step, and then it's taken a constant, a constant pursuit of that. And, as you know, one of the next level pillars is every next level demands a different you. And so I can see that you're constantly becoming a new you. And in the last 7 or 8 months, I've seen it over and over again, how vastly you change because of your perspective changing, by being involved in different groups that I see you on Facebook, by doing your Facebook lives, which I know are not always the most comfortable thing to do. And so I just want to commend you for that. And thank you for being the influence that you are. To not only our young people, but to the world around us. So thank you for that. And guys, get in touch with Christy, follow her on Facebook, follow her, get to know her, reach out to her. She loves phone calls. So take the phone,
Call me.
Make the phone call and have that conversation. And Christy, thanks again for being on.
Yeah. And thank you, Bob, for inviting me, and just the opportunities and the connections and the wisdom you've shared with me in this time has been part of my growth. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.